there seemed to have been a problem with the Zoom link, so I just recorded this video so that you have instructions on what to do. You have everything you need for the most part. I'm using a trash bag to cover my counter so I don't get dye. It will stain if you get it on your clothes or maybe even the counters, so just to be safe, I have the trash bag. And then we'll just go over a few designs. I'm sure you can Google different designs if you wanted something different, but the first one we'll start with is this spiral design. So you have to get your mask. Oh, and before we start, you can do this either wet or dry. So if your mask is dry, it's probably going to soak up the color a little bit more saturated, and it'll stay kind of where you put it. And if you wet it, it'll bleed a little bit more. So if you want some kind of blended colors, you can do that as well. Just make sure that when you wet it, you wring it out as much as possible. And then the colors might be slightly less saturated. So for this spiral one, you would get your mask, try to keep it flat. If you can do it on the counter, that's fine. And then you're gonna pinch it in the middle, and then you'll just twist, doesn't matter which way, but you're just gonna twist it so it creates a spiral. Let me see if I can do it. And it's gonna be pretty small, but you basically wanna create like a spiral like this, and it should be flat. And then the rubber bands, when you put them on, you want to kind of put it like a pizza. So you want to cross in that way and then diagonally like that, just to keep it together. I think I'm just going to do 3. Maybe I'll do 4. So it's going to look something like this. And then when you dye it, you're going to put color on each little thing. So if you want, I mean, it's up to you how many colors you use, but if you want different colors, then you would just put a color on each little triangle. If you want like 2 colors, you can do like every other one. Yeah, so it's really just up to you. Once you dye it, you can put it in like a little Ziploc bag and then just kind of set it aside. In your kits, there's dye, there's every color that we had. So there's purple, blue, green, pink, and yellow. And then there's 2 masks per person. So if you want to do a different design, you can do that as well. This next one is like a crumble, and that's kind of self-explanatory. You just kind of bunch it up with your fingers. No real design for that. Just kind of crumble it up, and then you can either just keep it crumbled with your hands and hold it while you just pour the dye on, or if you want to put a rubber band, that's fine too. You can just put one just to keep it together. So there's no real like design to it, so it's just gonna kind of be a free form. The next one is the stripes. So depending on which way you want your stripes to go, if you want the stripes to go up and down like this, like the stripe, the stripe, the stripe, then you're going to fold it this way. And you're just gonna go like back and forth like pleats. So a little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit. So it should just kind of like an accordion, just kind of look like that. If you want to include the strings in there, you can as well. And then you're gonna tie the rubber bands the width of the stripe that you want. So let's say you want 3 stripes there and there. Oh, that might give me 4 stripes actually. So then once you fold it, then you're just going to put the rubber bands where you want the stripes, and then you'll just use whatever colors you want. You'll color this one color, different color, different color, different color. If you want like the white of it to kind of show through when you're pouring the color onto the mask, just try not to get like too close to the rubber band so it'll keep a little bit of white space. And then if you want the stripes to go the opposite way, you would fold it this way. So lengthwise, little bit, little bit, little bit. And then your stripes will be this way. Yeah. So a little bit, little bit, little bit. And then you're gonna do the same thing. You'll put a rubber band, a rubber band, a rubber band, and then you'll color it depending on how you want it. And then your stripes will go this way. And then this is like a sun, I think they called it like a sunburst or a starburst, something like that. And this one is basically those little pink dots. To get that, you would just like pinch it and then tie a rubber band around that. And then wherever you want the other one, you can pinch there. And then if you wanted another one, you can pinch here. The tighter you put your rubber bands, the less it's going to bleed into the next section. So like let's say if you just wanted 3 little bursts, then you would put dye onto this little tied spot, this little pinched spot. And then if you want to keep your mask white, you just only dye the little pinches. If you want it to be how this one's purple and pink, then you would do whatever color on the pinches and then dye the rest of it the other color. It's going to use a lot more dye, so just be mindful of that. And then the last one I have is this one. It's a bullseye. And that one's gonna be like the little burst one. You're just gonna grab it in the middle and then just pinch it in the middle and pull down. And then you're going to put rubber bands where you want the colors to change. So let's say here. And then we'll go down a little bit. There. And if you want to include your strings in it, you can tie your strings together. And then you'll dye. So for example, this one was pink, green, and then blue. So it would be pink, green, and then blue. You can use whatever colors you want, but this is going to be the center of the bullseye, and then it's going to go out from there. And as many rubber bands as you want, you can put as many colors as you want, and it'll just have more circles around it. So I'm actually going to do the spiral one. So let me pinch it in the middle, spiral, spiral, spiral. Twist, twist, twist. And I'm gonna tie it the same, so like the pizza one. No. Let it go. Sorry, I let it go and it fell apart. actually just want two colors. I just want it to be white and blue. So sorry. Also be mindful of the dye. So if it gets on your gloves and you pick it up, you might get dye in a spot that you don't want it to be. So just keep that in mind. Sorry, I'm trying to... Okay. So I'm just gonna put it in every other one. So I'm also going to dye the front and the back of it. So if you notice when you dye one side, it doesn't go all the way through right away. So I'm just going to do the front and then I'll also do the bottom. I just kind of want to make sure that all the color's in there. I'm going to do every other one. Okay. One more. There's a lot of dye kind of dripping off of it, so I'm just gonna like soak it up in some of the corners. So it's really little. I don't know how it's gonna turn out. And I'm gonna let it sit, but I'm gonna take the rubber bands off just to kind of see what it looks like before I let it sit. Hopefully I didn't put too much dye. I put too much dye. So this is what it came out as. You can kind of barely see the spiral a little bit there. But since it's so little, it's gonna soak up a lot of dye into the other areas. So I could probably do like every two if I really want to see the white come through. But it's so cute. I like it. So those are the 5 designs that I was going to show you. Once you dye your mask, you can put it in a Ziploc bag. You're supposed to let it sit for 6 to 8 hours. These are a little bit smaller, so you probably don't need to do it that long, but at least for a few hours. And then don't put 2 masks in one bag. If you can put a mask in its own bag, if you put them together, they might bleed into each other, and if you don't want that, then obviously don't do it. If you don't have any plastic bags to put them in, you can just kind of like hang them maybe like in the shower somewhere, just so they just kind of don't get too much dye anywhere or stain anything. And then after the few hours that you let it sit, you're gonna rinse it in the sink until it stops bleeding. Just water is fine. And then if you want to wash it, then they recommend that you just wash it separately from your regular clothes, because it'll probably bleed, and try to use like mild to little soap. And then that should be it. And then once it dries, you should be good to go. So I'll go ahead and send this video to you, and then I'll probably send a follow-up email to see if anyone wants to share any pictures. I know the staff is really excited to see what we come up with. So if you can share, then we'd love to see them. Thanks.